happy release day. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good. I'm like an emotional wreck, honestly.
Wait, does it feel like you're like letting everyone in your emotions and thoughts? I mean, this is a big moment.
You release singles and, so people start hearing stuff, singularly, but the body of work is kind of like there's a lot of thought that goes into that. There's a lot of like conscious decision making of like how to make this album and how to tell the story the way you want to tell it. So the fact that it's in the world and people are receiving it, the messages I've been getting this morning are just, I'm like beside myself.
Well, of course, we're talking about American Spirit, which is out now, the full album. It's not your first album, but it's
No.
definitely the one that you've been wanting to make. I know you said that it was specifically really for like the 17-year-old self of you. Tell me more about that because I love it. I got to listen to it early, but I just love that this is such a, important project for you to put out right now.
Yeah, we've talked about this in past interviews where I've never quite felt like I found my footing with either country music or pop music. I feel like I've had a very tumultuous journey in the industry, and when I think about why I moved to Nashville 16 years ago, it was to be a country artist, and that was my dream, and that's what I wanted to do. And I don't think that I moved to Nashville being like, I'm going to be a queer country artist, because
Right.
that wasn't something I had really like identified within myself at 17. I think I knew, but it wasn't like I wasn't leading with that. But as I came into my sexuality here in Nashville and came out, it was like quickly told to me that I could not pursue country music and be the person I was. So, I pivoted. I moved to LA. I found some success there. It wasn't too shabby touring with Miss Ariana and Megan Trainor and doing Dancing with the Stars and Tonight Show, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like myself. Miley certainly wasn't lying when she said it's not a Nashville party out there. Nashville's my home, and country music is my original dream. It's my passion. Getting the opportunity to release my debut album, Southern Curiosity, where there was some flirtation with the idea of having Southern elements mixed in with what I do with like pop music and stuff like that, I was very hesitant to call it country or to like even allow it to be seen as that. And to my surprise, it was like met with a lot of love from country spaces and country playlisting and country fans. And it kind of just signaled to me that the time was perfect and the timing is everything. And I was right where I was supposed to be when I was supposed to be there. And I'm living in Nashville in a time where someone like me can make the country album of my dreams.
You also co-wrote or wrote every song on this album, which I love. But, we're talking Caitlin Smith, Mindy Smith that you wrote with, and also Mary Steenburgen co-wrote a song with you. Wait, I was like looking at the liner notes. I was like, is that real?
It's real.
Tell me about that.
I met Mary years and years and years ago at a dear friend of mine, Ariel. Ariel Vergis is married to a songwriter, an amazing songwriter named Troy Vergis, hit songwriter. And at their wedding, I met Mary and Ted in a very brief encounter. And I was like so starstruck. I had never been around anyone that famous.
They're so great. Yeah.
They're wonderful people.
Yeah.
And I've had the honor and the privilege of getting to know them over the last how many years. And Mary's really dear friends with my good friend Lucy Silvis. And so when I was out in LA opening for Brothers Osborne, Mary and Ted graciously opened up their house and let us stay there. And they're like our West Coast fam. And when Mary was in Nashville, me, her, and Caitlin Smith, Mary and Caitlin have also known each other for a long time. So we got together and wrote the song Soulmates, which so perfectly is what my album needed, because I was hell bent on this not being a breakup album. And so much of what got me through what felt like the toughest summer of my life was my friendships and my relationships and my community. And so having a song that I wrote with Mary called Soulmates, which is really just about how friends can be that for you. It's not just about lovers. Friends can be your soulmates. And I know I have several soulmates in this lifetime because of the people that lift me up and prop me up on a daily basis. And I'm really lucky to get to write with, I mean, are you kidding? Mary Steenburgen? Like, hello, that's iconic. And she's just wonderful. We're both Arkansas girlies. So
Yeah,
we have
that's
a lot in
right.
common and just so wise and thoughtful and has so much like sage advice. She's wonderful.
I also want to talk about, so not on this album, but Rhinestone Cowboy that you mentioned working with TJ opening for them, and then
Yeah.
Waylon Payne and Orville. I just remember listening to that and I was like, what a moment. I was like, I never thought I would ever get to hear this version of that song, and it was so powerful. What was it like to collaborate with them on, arguably one of the most iconic songs ever in country music, but to have it be, a queer spin, which I love so much.
I had Orville on my Apple radio show, Trailblazers Radio, with his last release, and I just kind of spoke it out there. I was like, "Listen, I'm seeing like a super group of iconic gay men." It was back in like a little pandemic-ish, so we were over Zoom
Yeah.
talking like you and I are, and I was just kind of like, "I'm speaking it now. You and I could do this," and I was, half joking and just trying to like make a joke, saying he was like he'd be Christina and I'd be Little Kim. It was this whole thing. Orville shot me and TJ and Waylon a text, I think top of last year, and just kind of was like, "Hey, I think we should do this. I'm doing a duets album, and I think this would be really iconic to do this all together. We're all in this space and being ourselves, and I think it would be really cool to collaborate." And I think that sends a really powerful message because for me, so long, my career has been, when I was in LA, sitting in the boardroom, all the
Hmm.
executives want to talk about all the other gay people and how they have my seat. And, there's the Sam Smiths and the Troye Sivans, and, you can't be successful if they're successful. And
Right.
they pit us against each other. And it feels so powerful to be on a text thread with three other amazingly talented men who inspire me and prop me up the same way I can support and prop them up. And it's not a competition. We're all in this together. The movement is strong. It is real. Country is queer. And it's like the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
It's really happening. And the fact that we could all come together and do that, it's just so meaningful. And Waylon Payne, I just have to say, I've been such a fan of him for so long. And he's been in Nashville blazing the trail and being himself and just doing so many amazing things. And his albums are just his voice is like
I love
balm.
his
It's
voice.
like,
Yeah.
oh God, like it's just so soothing and effortless.
I love that idea. And I think in so many spaces beyond music, this idea that there's room for everyone, it doesn't have to be so competitive, is so important. So I love that you said that. I'm also super excited that soon you're going to be coming to California. You have a bunch of shows lined up. I'm really excited. I'll be at
I
the
am too.
one in LA. Yes.
Let's go.
It's one thing to put the album out, which we now have it, but then you get to take it on the road and actually get, firsthand reactions from people when you play it live.
Yeah, this summer I've been on tour. I've toured more this year than I ever have in my entire life.
You're
I
like in
think
the
I've
UK and everywhere.
just even in the States, I've driven almost 30,000 miles
Wow.
this summer on my own, just like doing the damn thing. And it's because I
Mhm.
believe in this. I believe in the songs. I believe in the message. I was opening for other artists. Personally, I was calling my tour this summer my Eat, Pray, Love tour. And honey, I ate. Okay, it was a life changing summer, and so I'm excited to be going into this fall tour with Miss Caitlin Butts because I feel more prepared and more ready and more myself, not only on like a personal note, but on a professional note. I feel this album is just like, in a lot of ways, it's a return to what we talked about when we started this convo, the original dream. But
Yep.
I also feel like I'm arriving, honey. And I'm just like, I just feel grounded for the first time in my career, literally ever. There's no guessing anymore of who Fancy is. I think this album wholeheartedly puts that on display. And when you're an independent artist, or even not, when you're making music and you put it into the world, you do not know how people are going to react to it, how they're going to consume it. It's not lost on me that you put songs into the world and then a lot of times they can just float into the ether. And then all of a sudden you're sitting in a random town you've never been to, and a queer couple is telling you that you sang them their first dance, or you walked them down the aisle, or they dedicated your song to their children, or something like that. And it's like, wow, this music is living with people. I'm being invited into people's lives.
Yep.
And as an artist, that's not something I take lightly. I really hold that near and dear, and it's like front and center when I'm making music. It's important to me that if people are inviting me into their lives, that I'm being my real self, my honest self. I'm telling my story. I'm sharing my heart.
Well, Fancy, that's like I think that's a perfect spot to wrap up because it is what it's all about. It's like you said, the impact, and like I love that you're getting to have, those fans and people come up to you and tell you how much your music means. Because I know I love it and it's so great. Just a reminder, everyone, American Spirit is out now and you can catch Fancy on the road. Bunch of shows lined up in California and beyond. So get your tickets for that too.